One. So often, good evening. It's evening here in American Samoa, and I am talking with candidate Luisa Kuaea for American Samoa Congressperson position. And without further ado, let me have her introduce herself.
Talafalava, American Samoa. I'm Luisa Kuaea, and I am running for Congress. I'm the daughter of Norla Turingasinoa from the villages of Iri and I would say Waitoni, but Papaiai. We do have family there. And my father is Aumaali'i, Aumalo, Liufau Susue, and he is from the villages of Utulei, Pankongo, and Aua. And I am excited to be here with Victor Liu and his crew to talk about, to answer some questions. I think there are a lot of people out there wondering who I am, you know, who the new girl or new kid on the block is, and I'm excited for this opportunity to just share with you a little bit about myself and to answer any questions. So thanks.
Okay. Let me give you our first question. So, you're going up against an incumbent.
Yes.
So what do you think that should be, what is the job of congressperson that you understand to be?
So, it's a big job. So it's the U.S. delegate position for the House of Representatives, and it is representing our U.S. territory. And so, as I understand it, Congress, the U.S. Congress, entails 535 members. 435 are part of the House of Representatives, and then the other 100 are senators. And so this position that represents American Samoa is an opportunity for American Samoa's voice to be heard on the Congress floor. It's a lawmaking position, so legislation is pushed through, and the job is to advocate for the people and to listen and assess and understand the needs of our people, and then to advocate for those needs in Congress. And that could be manifested through a lot of legislative activities, through bills, through through the ballot measures at the box, during voting. There are a number of ways, you know, and I believe that you get 2 years really to do it. And although the terms are only 2 years, you're required, if you want to continue doing the work, you have to campaign every 2 years for it. And so really this is a position for the people and that the people elect. Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you two prompt question about immigration. First, let me ask you your take on citizenship. Mm-hmm. It's been argued in the past, and some people say, well, we should be nationally born citizens, or those of us who are not citizens, we should have a thing to be citizens. What's your take on that?
So I'm glad you asked that question, Victor, because there have been people asking or talking about my stance on citizenship. And one of the questions that a friend had posed to me was, people are saying that if they elect you, you're going to mandate citizenship, U.S. citizenship. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I'm not trying to mandate anything for our people. And I am a U.S. citizen. I was born and raised in the Bay Area of California, and I understand that people who are born here are non-citizen U.S. nationals. And there is a difference, you know. A lot of people who haven't left this island may not feel the difference, but there are certain benefits and rights that are afforded U.S. citizens versus U.S. nationals. And so I just want to be clear that I am not trying to push everyone to become a U.S. citizen. You know, I understand that many people value the non-citizen U.S. national status, and but I also think that there is a narrative that is circulated for a long time on one side of the argument as to why they want to remain U.S. nationals. I've asked that of my family members, and they believe that I have, and Edna believes that it is a blessing from God. And I asked her why, and majority of people that I've asked why they want to remain U.S. nationals is the fear of losing our lands if they become U.S. citizens. And I would like to explore the other side of the argument, that if they were to become U.S. citizens, what impact would that have on them and their lands? Mm-hmm. And I think that there are a lot of decisions that we form, or beliefs and values that we form out of fear or the unknown or being uncertain. And so I'm all for civil dialogue and discourse to talk about the unintended consequences of choices and what we believe in. And so I think it warrants a conversation between our people and what it means, because many of our people, when they do go to the States, some do naturalize and some don't. And for example, I have my father. He's 82 years old. He left here when he was 10 years old on the 1952 USS Jackson. And he found my mom, had out his children, and his whole entire life he never voted, you know, and that was because of his non-citizen U.S. national status. And now he's back, and this is the first time he is exercising his right to vote, and he's going to vote for his daughter for the first time. And he's voting for new leadership and change. And I think when I look at him and I talk to him about it, he's extremely happy. It brings him much joy to be able to exercise this right to vote. And when I had asked, why didn't you do it all those years? And he didn't really have an answer for me. You know, and there are many of our people in those situations in the States that aren't afforded the full rights of U.S. citizenship because of their U.S. national status. And so, I don't know if I answered that question. I feel like...
No, this is not about, it's about your responding to the question. Okay, that answers the second part about it. So let's go to marijuana legalization. For the purpose of medical, for those that need it, comparison to what's happening in the States, and also any taxation that we could benefit from it. We have a meth epidemic, and what I keep hearing is funding. Or what is your take on that? Would medical marijuana legalization here work economically or with the social fabric?
Good question. Legalizing marijuana, for many of you who aren't aware, I was a police officer in the Bay Area, and I worked with narcotics, and I arrested a lot of people involved with drugs, particularly marijuana. And I was a police officer during the time when laws were passed in California where cannabis was legalized. And so there was a transition phase, right? And so what I saw in terms of the impact in California that could, you know, even transfer here is that there are pros and cons to legalizing marijuana. One, it creates an additional stream of revenue for the state, for the island, wherever they are legalizing it. It also creates jobs because businesses are able to develop and open up and sell the product. And so it creates jobs, it increases revenue. It also impacted the criminal justice system where it reduced the number of arrests. And so the burden on the criminal justice system was reduced because people weren't being arrested for possession of marijuana. And then the benefits, the medical benefits to marijuana is that it does help to alleviate or to help with chronic pain, anxiety, some other mental illnesses or abnormalities that are out there. And so there are benefits there. The cons, however, is that there's still a black market, right? There's still people who are going to sell it illegally. And for those who are trying to do it legally and opening businesses, it's hard to compete with that because they're highly regulated, they're paying taxes on it, and then you've got the black market that is just selling.
Free market.
Yeah. And so that's sort of a downfall. Then there's also the increased cases of use for minors or young people, and then increased cases of minors driving impaired while they're using. And so there's a lot of cons as well, with marijuana, legalizing cannabis. But my thought is to have a discussion, to talk about what the benefits, pros and benefits are, and weigh those out. Because for me, having or legalizing marijuana for medicinal purposes seems like that would be something that we would benefit from as an island. For recreational use, that's another conversation. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on it.
Thank you. Let's go to the ocean and talk about seabed mining. A little bit during the last 12 months, there was a local nonprofit that were pushing the issue of seabed mining. It's good for American Samoa economically, and this and that. And we found out that there's a whole process they have to go through on the federal side. Plus, there's authority over the sea, which was new to me. What would you do if that starts creeping up, and do you think it would benefit us economically versus the environment impact? What you think of that?
Yes, I definitely think it will impact us economically as well as environmentally. And I think we need to ask what seabed mining is, right? And as I understand it, it's just like land mining, but moving that activity to the ocean.
Correct.
And we all know what mines have done to our lands in the States, right? And how it creates a lot of jobs, but it also has been the causation or correlation with a lot of death, right? And so I think understanding what the end goal is of seabed mining, because the first thing you said was it would be profitable and help our economy. But how it impacts our environment is another concern for us, because as I understand it, it would disrupt the ecosystem underwater. And when it would while it does that, because it would bring these large machines in and go so deep down into the ocean and disrupt the ocean life down there. And when you disrupt the ocean life, there would be these plumes of the sediment plumes that come up, and it affects every part of the ecosystem here, and it would impact our food web. It would impact so many different aspects of our environment, and it would be really challenging, especially since we are trying to pursue and seek more climate resilience here in our islands, because the whole climate change issue has been caused because of human activity that is happening in different parts of the world, right? And manufacturing, what industries are doing that increase the emissions in our air quality, And there's just so many unknowns, but there's also plenty of knowns as to how this would impact us environmentally. And I would say that, how climate change has impacted us isn't really the fault of us. Right. It is the fault of others right now. We just don't have a say in it. And for them to move this type of activity that would be problematic to our environment, to our oceans, as I understand it, we're the caretakers of the largest ocean of the world. And so we have to be extremely mindful of any outside or external opportunities that are coming to our island to benefit from it financially, to make a profit. We have to look at what cost are we going to bring these foreign investors here, right. And who's really going to make the profit? Is it going to be our people? And how many jobs is it really creating? Because as I understand it, it's not going to be like how landmines are created, where it creates a lot of jobs. Here, a lot of the activity is done by equipment, technology. And so it doesn't create as many jobs as it does on land. And so I think there are a lot of things that we should be cautious of and aware of before making a decision. I always try to explore, an opportunity before, I pass it on, and I think that our government leaders need to do that. Feasibility studies are there for a reason, and that's to understand unintended consequences and impacts of a project or activity. And so we need to do more feasibility studies before we invest in any type of foreign corporation or investment. And so seabed mining, I don't know. I'm not feeling it, especially if it's going to impact our environment.
So final question.
You can film him when he asks the question.
I'm not important. I'm not important, but the final question is...
Sorry if it feels like, why are you just filming me?
What is your take on if someone is too old for office? Like, what does that entail? Ageism.
Well, ageism is a form of discrimination, right? Against people because of their age. And I think it leans more towards the elderly, the prejudice against age, and their ability to perform in a particular job. And I don't think that's fair. But I do think that, we're all on the path to death, right? We're all aging, we're all at different stages in our lives.
Some of us deny it.
Yeah. But I think it goes back both ways, because there's discrimination against our young people here too. Like, you're not old enough, almost not, you don't have the skills or the development yet. And then on the elderly or senior side, you're too old, you can't perform well. And when I think about this, I was talking to my husband about this. I was like, it's like pickleball. I don't know if you've heard about pickleball.
Unfortunately, yes.
So it is the fastest growing sport in America, and it is our favorite pastime. And we're not so bad at it. But one thing I've experienced or observed in pickleball is that it is a sport for all ages.
Right.
All ages. And people say that all the time. And I remember when I first started playing, I saw a lot of Kanamakua coming up, and first instinct is to follow, respect, don't play too hard, don't, they're older, give them a chance. Yes. And so, and then you have them come on the court, and they're limping, they've got the bandages around their knee. I think it's all strategic. Like,
Yeah.
And then once they jump on the court, after the first serve,
no mercy.
they smash you, like they clean you, and you're like, here I was trying to take it easy on you, but They were amazing, you know? And on the flip side, even young people, you think they're too young to play, when they get on, they cream you know? And it's like,
It's about having fun, I guess.
yeah. And I mean, to my point is, you just can't judge a book by its cover, right?
Right.
You can't be prejudiced or prejudge people by their age. You have to look at their abilities, their qualities, look at their experience, and then allow them the opportunity to perform and to shine. And then you base it off of that. I do, however, feel that here, when we age, you know, there's obviously mental decline, and there's, you know, you don't have the full energy that you need to do certain tasks or jobs. And that's hard to accept, especially for people who are aging. My 82-year-old father, we are really trying to stop him from driving, you know, and
Good luck.
yeah, exactly. And he's doing great, you know, but I just remember when I was a cop, I would have to confiscate licenses from the elderly, and it was the worst thing. It was really hard, you know, to come and talk to an elderly person and inform them that they just crashed a bunch of cars that they didn't know about, you know, and then have to confiscate their license, you know, that awareness and transition is difficult. But in terms of the workplace, we can't allow that type of discrimination to occur. Regardless of your age, if you're able to do the work and perform, you should be able to do it, you know.
Okay, and now I'm going to ask you for your final thoughts. Any thoughts you want to add to what you talked about, or just shout outs?
Well, I really appreciate this opportunity, Victor, and the crew, and you, American Samoa. I don't know who's watching this, but you know, I never wanted to do this, pursue this political arena. I was not into politics. You know, I am a public servant, you know, and I have been serving the community for over 30 years. And I've been hearing a lot of different conversations happening over there, out around me as to what qualifies me for this position, and that I have no experience in Washington or in Congress. And honestly, yeah, I may not have experience in Congress, but I'm a veteran in terms of community service and serving our people. I've been serving our people since I was a little girl, and that's because of the example of my parents. And I get emotional because the reason why we came back here to American Samoa was on an impression I feel from the Lord. And thankfully, it came easily to my husband first, and then it grew on me. But the impression was to come home, to immerse yourself in the culture, learn who your family is, learn where you're from, understand that, and serve where you can. And I have done some campaigning in the States this past summer, and a lot of my messaging has been around the invitation to our people in the diaspora to come home. Because there's a lot of identity crisis happening right now, and I feel that if people knew where they came from and the amazing ancestral heritage that they have, the sacrifices that their grandparents, great-grandparents, and so forth have given in order for them to live the lives they have now, that they would have a sense of purpose and would be placed on a trajectory where they would do good in this world, do good in this life. And you know, with our government now, you know, beckoning or enticing other foreign investors to come in to help rebuild our economy, I say why? Why don't we call our own people home to help rebuild our economy together? Bring your talents, bring your education, bring all that you have to offer. And for those of you who have never even thought about returning home, you know, I didn't know I needed to come home until I came home and experienced this. And I think people here in American Samoa, We have family who have been off island for many years. I think it's important for us to embrace them when they want to return home. And I want to create pathways to allow our people and incentivize our people to come home so we can build an American Samoa that is bigger and better than ever, you know, and that will be done when we all come together. And so that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. Live and direct to you from Luisa Kuaea for U.S. Congress of American Samoa. Please follow us on YouTube at VictorJU and on Sau'Ai podcast on Facebook. Thank you very much for your time and have a good night.
Good night.